Welcome one and all to some Warhammer World Championship action. In one corner of the ring, we have Dante, the devil himself, going to be leading the Beastmen horde as they onslaught the opposing corner, which is going to be the Darklord Voidlolz on the Skaven, as he commands the Vermin Tide. So for the Beastmen army, we are going to be seeing that Minibus here up in the rear as we have some Minotaurs with shields and great weapons going to be taking that high ground, looking to charge themselves right on through those Skaven lines and get into that juicy gun line that the Skaven is so very fond of. We'll be having a few units to support them as well. We have Morgar the Shadow Cave going to be commanding the Beastmen, and he is going to be bringing that Spirit Essence of Chaos to be getting some nice juicy frontline chaos spawn to help these Minotaurs charge right on up that choke point. We have a Brave Shaman of Death coming in with the Fate of Buna. Going to be looking again to just kind of power their way through those units. We have a Wargore on his chariot as he's going to be able to use the things that the Skaven detest most as he charges on through. We have some Ungors going to be dotting that line, just kind of taking up some space for the time being. As for the Skaven side on Voidlolz, we do have some Night Riders going to be vanguard up front. They're going to be looking to try and get some nice juicy shots in before the rest of the Skaven can get into position, and they are definitely coming in hot and heavy with those Poison Wind Globadiers. We are going to be seeing war crimes left, right, and center, I'll tell you that much. And we are going to be seeing some Clan Rat Spears going to be trying to get in front of them, absorb all of those shots, and they're not going to really care too much if some Skaven slaves or some Clan Rats take a little poison wind to their backside, as long as the opposing forces are going to be taking as much damage, if not more so. We have some Rat Ogres for some mass and mobility, going to be hanging back, trying to just deter anything from diving in. Harpies and Manticores are going to be one of the worries here for the Skaven, and they do have some Rattling Guns to help with that, as well as the Council Guard, the Storm Vermin with Halberds. These guys are going to be unbreakable, and Guardian, unfortunately, though, the Skavens, who have been denoted as their leader, has fled the battlefield already. Going to be juicing up the leadership of all these units with that Chieftain's lovely ability called Power Grab. So everything's going to be getting nice +8 leadership right off the bat. But let's get things moving here a little bit quicker, as the Beastmen going to be kind of pushing themselves off to the side, going to be waiting to build up just a little bit and avoid as much of that incoming damage. They do not want to be charging those lines just yet. They just do not have the firepower to keep steaming on through, so they are going to be trying to keep their distance, at least for now, and just kind of let their single entities take some shots from these Night Runners, screening them out as Morgar and that Wargore are going to be charging forward. Now, he does have to be a little bit mindful of that Chieftain, who's going to be trying to land some hits in and deter these Beastmen from kind of just running rampant through the Night Runners. So far, Beastmen are still going to be keeping that high ground. They're very expensive and very mostly prized units. Going to be the Minotaurs are going to be staying a long ways from all of the gun lines, as they are just flowing on down this choke point here, and the Skaven are filling this lower field very, very quickly and pushing forward to try and just kind of nullify as much space that the Beastmen have to kind of move around. Morgar is going to be taking some damage, but luckily he does have some regen, so he's going to be able to take that no problem whatsoever. And that Wargore charging into those Poison Wind Globadiers, and that's going to allow these Ungor Spearman herd to kind of push themselves up just a little bit, get engaged in melee before these shots do start raining forward. And if that Wargore has anything to say, he's going to be able to keep these Poison Wind Globadiers offline for quite some time, but that is why these Rat Ogres are going to be pushing up to really try and hem in that Wargore, taking a bit of damage himself, but so far he's been doing excellent work. And those Rattling Guns, they are going to be a firing away. Minotaurs with great weapons taking the brunt of that, as well as those Night Runners can be landing their shots, doing a nice bit of damage to them. And those Ungor herd, they're going to be pushing up in the meantime, but they do have to fight off against those Council Guards, so they're not going to be doing all too much against them, just giving their big boys a little bit of breathing room. And in comes that Chieftain once more with that hammer, as he is going to be trying to get Morgar off the field, but that is a very sticky lord to try and deal with. He's just going to be really just best to kind of leave Morgar to his own devices. We do have Ikit Claw with his Doom Wheel. He is going to be making his appearance on the field, as he does have that Brass Orb, Unlimited Power, Howling Warp Gale, and Flensing Ruin for his spell kit. And he's going to be dropping that Flames and Ruin right off the bat. Going to be doing some nice damage to a very grouped up unit of Beastmen and those Poison Wind Globadiers doing what they do best. They are being some Rat Ogres, probably one of the more expensive units, but otherwise it is just slaves, and they are just tearing apart these Beastmen, doing very, very well. so far, as the Skaven are off to a nice juicy lead in that early damage, but these Chaos Spawn coming in from Morgr are going to be kind of pushing back this little pocket in the rear. We do have some Skaven slaves hot on their tails, just trying to distract them, but they're going to get a nice charge into the Night Runners and eventually these Rattling Guns, and that is going to kind of open up that front door now for these Minotaurs who are going to be trying to kind of weave their way in, wanting to get on top of all these Poison Wind Globadiers. Fate of Yuna going down on one of these Poison Wind Globadier, trying to just get them down as low as can, and it is just chunking away at their HP, and that might be enough to rout these guys off, but not before they get a nice volley into these Senegors, who have him kind of pinned up against the wall. But more and more monstrous infantry on the way. Fate of Yuna does its job, gets rid of those Poison Wind, and while the other ones are occupied by some more Minotaurs, they continue to just throw in these massive monstrous infantry, pushing back these Rattling Guns on that side. Now if we kind of swing back over to where these Poison Wind Globadiers are really doing very, very well. I see the Skaven are doing a little bit better on this front. Senegors and the Ungor Spearman herd definitely on the rough side of things, as well as these Minotaurs getting very, very low in HP, wanting to kind of hold these guys back at this point. Not going to be a whole lot of use when their HP is that low, and these Wolf Rats, though, doing an excellent job chasing these Senegors, but they are getting very far away from the front line and very close to the Vanguard reinforcement point for the Beastmen, who are going to be able to kind of spawn some stuff in right here if they are on top of things, and those Wolf Rats and these Night Runners probably will not be very long for this world if those that deployment zone is utilized at this point. But in the front lines, Morgr was sitting pretty decent in terms of HP, and we do actually see those reinforcements now come in at the last second. Senegor is charging down the hill into the Wolf Rats. Nice charge as hits those Night Runners in that back, so very good bit on that side. But we're back to Morgr on this side, as he is doing not so great. That Chieftain is definitely doing very well against him. And at this point, though, Morgr has used his summon, though it is still nice to kind of keep him in the field as a little kind of leadership morale boost. But those Chieftain getting surrounded by multiple Senegors, as he is going to be getting very low in terms of leadership, does not want to be losing this Chieftain here in the middle of this fight. He is an excellent kind of anchor point, as Ikeclod is going to be coming in, though, allowing to give some terror in on his Doom Wheel, as the Rattling Guns now up on top of the high ground, going to be firing away full steam ahead against those Minotaurs, doing some nice bit of damage. And we're most likely going to be probably seeing some terror routes in here as a Brass Orb as well goes down, and it is going to stabilize the Chieftain's leadership, who is going to be able to kind of turn around and really kind of try and finish off Morgr when he is at his most vulnerable so far in this match. And we're seeing all of the infantry support terror out in a way, as Ikeclod does some very nice damage. I think Cleansing Ruin as well, kind of adding insult to injury, really doing a major amount of damage to the center core of the Beastman army. Though in the meantime, the Senegors on the far side are going to be getting pushed back by Wolf Rats and some more Night Runners, and while the Beastmen have had 3 points up until this point in the fight, things are looking very grim indeed. Even on this far front, these Ungor Spearman herd are getting harassed on multiple flanks by these Wolf Rats and these Poison Wind Globadiers. Senegors are going to be charging in, but they themselves are kind of being hounded a little bit by some Rat Ogres, and things looking a little bit dicey here. We are going to be getting some more Chaos Spawn here in the center ranks from Morgr before he does kind of kick the bucket, though I do not see him. He may have been pulled back, or he may have fallen at this stage, and the Chieftain is in for a rough time. He's getting very low, no healing for him, as he's going to be routing right on off the field. Poison Wind Globadier trying to get some shots, but that Bray Shaman just trying to distract them as best that he can. He is no melee combatant, but he is a single entity able to kind of get into the range units and just kind of shut them down. And there is Morgr off to the side. He is finally going to be taking his dip out of that battlefield, but he is able to survive, so the Beastman will not be taken in that punishment of that loss of leadership. Another Cleansing Ruin hitting those Minotaurs and those Chaos Spawn, just trying to really whittle things down, as Ikeclod now turns his attention to the Spellcaster. Bray Shaman of Death going to be taking a massive hit, terror routing right off that damage, and he is going to be on his way out. There's not really a whole lot super close to support. These Chariots are about the only thing that can really probably turn the tide for that Bray Shaman, as Iket tries to push his way through those Chaos Spawn and try and finish the job. Just another hit or two should be all it takes to finish that Bray Shaman off, and no more Fate of Yunas for the Beastmen, though there there has already been plenty up until this point. Skaven do have the center point, and it looks like now they have all 3 points for the Skaven side, and they are sitting pretty nice in terms of total damage done. They are 10,000 to about 85, so they are sitting very comfortable there. Now their units are kind of getting beaten down, and with that ammunition kind of slowly depleting, not so much on this flank, but that is going to be kind of one of the things as units start to lose their usefulness on all fronts. But these nice Tuskor chariots can be charging in, helping out the Centaurs who have charged into these wolf rats and trying to deal with these night runners. Should be able to clean things up there. We have more wolf rats coming in for the Skaven. And the Skaven, though, they do not have any gun lines left at this point. It is pretty much scrambling. They have been able to take all 3 points, and now they're just trying to utilize their mobility, wolf rats, and the rat ogres to really just kind of hold their position. But the beastmen, they themselves are a very, very mobile faction. Centaurs, even those minotaurs, they have quite a bit of speed themselves. Even though they are very beaten down, taking a few hits, they are going to be very helpful dealing with some of these units, as they're able to pretty much shatter all of these units, and that is going to give the beastmen back that center point, as they're going to be pretty comfortable, at least in terms of anything that can immediately threaten that spot. Tuskor chariots also kind of cleaning up shop on this far point, as the beastmen are going to be taking point 1 from the Skaven side. It is going to be only a matter of time, and then that balance is just going to be shifting more and more towards them, as they'll be having 2 points, and they are even taking point 3 on the far side, as we'll shift our focus on to that side, see how things are kind of doing on that front, as Ikit tries very desperately to try and hold that position. A nice cleansing ruin, though, is going to be hitting the Ungor Spearman herd and those Centaurs, as this more Spearman herd going to be charging in, and Ikit Claw is going to be able to really tank this damage very well. Not too much that can outright punish him, especially with those Centaurs being tear-routed, but they do have the mass to kind of hold him down and slowly drag him through the mud, though those rat ogres will definitely be a benefit for Ikit Claw, and he might be able to stabilize the loss of point 3 before that eventually ticks over to the beastman side. But here in the choke point, everything is going to be diving on in. Now the Skaven definitely look like they have a few more fresh units than the beastmen. Rat ogres, clan rat spears, wolf rats, all those guys charging in against some very beaten down minotaurs. They do have their Tuskor chariots, but the only thing that the beastmen have is the quality here, as the minotaurs, even beaten down as they are going to be able to put a major amount of hurt, and might even be able to break these wolf rats on those charges. But they are slowly getting dragged down bit by bit. Some units can be kind of spawning in night runners, but the beastmen are hot on the uptake, as the Razorgore herd and the Centaurs can be charging right into them, taking off a nice bit of their HP before they're able to react. And we have some more Centaurs as well hanging in the wing side, going to be able to dive on in. For the most part, we do have the kind of side points not too much contested by the Skaven. They have some units kind of lost in the background, and they are fighting tooth and nail to try and hold down this 3rd point. But the beastmen keep throwing more and more units in. These Ungor Spearman herd are going to be kind of holding that balance back and forth, but the Skaven still just clinging on to point 3. And it looks like we have another Fate of Buna, as that spellcaster, not down for the count yet, is able to kind of finish off these wolf rats with poison, as they are just going to be chunking away at their HP. You can just see that HP bar just dropping like a rock, and away they will go, shattered off the field, leaving just those rat ogres to try and support Ikit Claw on this front. And with those throwing axes, Ikit Claw probably doesn't want to be sticking around there all too long, and things are looking a lot better now for the beastman. Balance in terms of damage has kind of shifted towards the beastmen more and more, as they are clawing their way back in that regard. But the beastmen have been able to really stay in the fight much longer than the Skaven have up through this fight, as they've just been, especially the minotaurs themselves, just scrapping it out for every amount of HP. And you see these rat ogres already at half health, wavering, and they're going to be getting pushed off, and then the much quicker units of the beastmen going to be able to make sure that things aren't going to be on their way back all too soon. But the Skaven coming in with some numbers on the far flank, wolf rats and these night runners able to push off these beaten down Centaurs and those minotaurs, and they're now going to be making a beeline 4.1. They definitely need some points now, as we have Dante only 500 points away from victory, though the mobility of the beastmen are going to be responding in kind. We have Centaurs and Centaurs with throwing axes going to be coming in to try and deter these wolf rats and all of these other Skaven units to come in, while these Tuskor chariots do harass that line. The Rat Ogres are sadly going to be meeting their fate as the Minotaurs able to kind of power through, especially with the assistance of those Ungor Spearmen. And away they shall go. A few more units is kind of off on the periphery, but in this side, now the Beastmen finally able to kind of win this fight rather concisively, as Ikeclaw, unable to hold on any longer, is going to be conceding this position to the Beastmen, and that is going to be a triple cap now for Dante against Voidlolz. Things definitely looking very, very dicey for the Skaven here. Ikeclaw not willing to give up the ghost just yet. Going to be diving into these Ungor herds with those Rat Ogres, though he doesn't want to be sticking around too long. I'm just hoping to do what damage he can before the Centaurs with throwing axe kind of turn around and get their volley in, as they get a few nice shots into the rear of Iket on his escape. Night Runner's going to be trying to get some more shots in, but the Skaven trying to make a kind of a conservative push into point one, but the Beastmen have just been so much quicker with all of the Centaurs, and now that those Minotaurs that were kind of bottled up in that choke point over there are going to be able to kind of charge in and once again just hold back the Skaven, because right now the Skaven, the time is not their ally. They are going to want to get these points as soon as they can, and the Beastmen, if they are able to just keep throwing Centaurs and fast units into their way, it is going to make it all the much harder. And even with all these units around, the Skaven, their poor leadership definitely being felt rather severely, as all the wolf rats, all the fast units can be kind of getting very low. Some shots able to kind of clean up a little bit of room for them, as the wolf rats do able to surge forward and deal with these Centaurs, throwing them all kind of off that chase, and is going to allow a potential for the Skaven to kind of take this far point. Rat Ogres, or not Rat Ogres, the Wolf Rat's going to be moving on, trying to hasten the capture of this point, give them a little bit of breathing so they don't have to stick on this point. As these Ungor Spearmen herd, they are going to be kind of pushing forward, and they're getting very close, as well as all of these Ungors might be just enough to kind of slow things down. Wolf Rats do charge forward, and I think that is going to be enough for the Skaven to take it. It is so very close, still not yet captured, and the Beastmen still have that end. Then that last unit of Ungor herd able to get on the point, and the balance now shifting back away from the Skaven, so very close to holding that point. But I think that is going to be pretty much curtains, as they are still unable to take the far points, getting some more units onto this side of the battlefield, but it is just too much. The Beastmen mobility is definitely going to be taking the day, and it looks like Dante is going to be cruising forward to a victory here against Voidlolz. Beastmen definitely riding the back of the minibus as they kind of charge forward to a victory here, cleaning up shop on all fronts. Point 2 being uncontested, with only 20 points left to go before the battle is decided, and that is going to be all she wrote, ladies and gentlemen. The Beastmen do emerge victorious against the Vermintide. So let's take a little look at the after battle report, see how things did fare on all fronts. So let's start with the Beastmen, the victors of the day. Morgar with his Chaos Spawn is going to be getting most of his value from those, but he still was able to rack up a nice bit of damage, kind of just sitting in melee, getting almost 1,000. And the Beret Shaman with those Fate Up units going to be getting 1354. Nice job on him. Now the Minotaurs, some of them not doing all too great. One did rather well, 1237. The Warger earlier on just able to kind of be a nice disruption tool, but unfortunately was not able to get a ton of value, and then not really going to be expecting too much from most of the infantry, though these Ungor Spearmen herds did very well, getting 1,000 on them. Very nicely done with those, most likely doing some nice decent damage to the Chieftain and the Rat Ogres on the far side. Now with the reserves, looks like these Minotaurs did much better than the starting ones, as they're able to get almost 2k in total value. Other ones did not see the battlefield, neither did that Manticore. But the Centaurs, the mobility was really kind of what won the Beastmen the game in that late battle, as they're able to get some very nice value with 1,000 on them, 1669 on these other ones, 400, 773, and 864. So some nice value with those guys. Tuskor Chariots doing pretty decently, as well as those Razorcore Herd. So mobility definitely very well in the reserves. All these units in the reserves had a nice bit of speed. Even Minotaurs being on foot still very much going to be outpacing most of the infantry. As for the Skaven side of things, Skaven Slaves expecting very little and providing just that. Now the Chieftain did get 922. Rattling guns did get shut down. They were able to get a few decent shots on the Minotaurs, but 367 is going to be their end battle result here. Rat Ogres doing nicely, 1,500 on them. And then we have all of those Poison Wing Globadiers. Unfortunately, we're not able to do quite very much. The Beastmen were able to shut them down very, very effectively. Night Runners on the other hand did a little bit better, getting some very nice shots in with those guys. As for the reinforcements, Ikit Claw getting 4,397. Very, very nice with those. Flensing Ruin, Doom Wheel, terror routing the Beastmen left, right, and center. Very excellent, very well played on Ikit. Unfortunately, the rest of the Skaven roster didn't do quite as well, though these Wolf Rats definitely doing pretty good. 1,200,000, another one at 1,200. Very nice with that mobility. Unfortunately, they probably could have benefited from a bit more on the mobility. Rat Ogres adding a little bit of extra mass might have been a little better than maybe all of these extra clan rats, though of course you do need some cap weight at the end of the day. But that is going to be all she wrote today, ladies and gentlemen. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.